At the start, the main character is in a wheelchair to connote that he is wounded. Although the wheelchair represents physical disability, it could also suggest his mental illness, which is stronger than the physical injury. Our opening uses conventions of psychological and mythical horror subgenre because we included a religious and a partly mythical character, which was the evil nun. Also, the conventions of psychological horror is someone is going crazy and having a mental illness, and our product uses this convention as our main character, Daniel, is going insane and he's mentally ill, and as he believes that this evil nun is chasing him. As we wanted to make the conventions of psychological horror, we could say that the nun isn't real and it's only Daniel's mind and it's his imagination as he is mentally ill. Our location meets the conventions of the horror genre because we used the corridor to make it look like a mental asylum. We got inspiration from the movie Session 9, where the movie is set in a mental asylum as well. We also got inspiration from another student film where the scene was set in a mental asylum. The conventions of psychological horror and asylums are characters going crazy and becoming mentally ill because of a past experience or trauma. We try to use this convention by making characters explain this experience to a psychologist in a mental asylum. We have done that by using voiceovers throughout various scenes. Also, the audience wants to see something frightening and scary after seeing a mental asylum, and in order to meet this convention, we kept changing the locations throughout the editing, including different places in the castle such as the stairs, the abandoned alley, under the archway, etc. to take an unexpected turn. We cut different scenes together to show that we've been in various locations, including the castle, to meet conventions of the horror. Our props and costumes also help us to meet conventions of the horror genre. As for the props, we didn't use blood or any weapons like in a slaughter movie, such as Nightmare on Elm Street, but we wanted to make it look scary by making the character mentally ill and making him imagining things that are not really there. We also included the book he was holding the whole time, which led him into this experience with the nun. We made that book look like it's a Bible to meet conventions of religious horror, and this Bible can easily relate to the nun he's seeing, as they are both religious themed.
Usually in horror movies, the conventions are women being killed and haunted down by the male serial killers and male antagonists, such as Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, and mainly 666, The Child, where the demonic male kills nuns, but in our case, it's the nun who tries to murder the main character. We try to challenge this convention as in our film we have a mentally ill male being chased and haunted down by a female. We wanted to implement this challenge because we wanted to differ from all the other titles out there and therefore making our opening sequence more exciting for the audience. Also, the doctor in our opening sequence is a female, but in movies it is usually the male who's being a doctor, therefore our sequence is breaking stereotypes.
One film that we could imagine ourselves being like is The Woman in Black. This is how our film's latest production involves a man standing in front of a graveyard on a poster, which could potentially be our film's poster, meaning that we in many ways fit into the picture of how productions aim to see. In conclusion, Sound Films would be the most ideal media institution to try and work for, as it would direct us to the right audience, and with the quality of our film and plot behind it, we could intrigue and provide them with a new audience and expand their profits.
The audience for our media project is directed towards middle-aged teenagers. This is because we have used mind balance and our group thought that it would be best suited for their age range. And most teenagers can somehow relate to it, referring to the young boy who lands himself in detention because of his troublesome acts and then finds himself falling asleep. Some teenagers find this relatable as this scenario can be linked to certain teenagers apart from the twist which includes the scary nun. We realised from the survey that most people prefer to watch 18 plus movies, but we had decided to go with 15 plus, which got 28% of the votes. This is because we didn't include as much bloody gory scenes that you would find in an 18 plus rating film. It would also appeal to an older audience whom are in their early 20s to early 30s. This is because they seem very interested in the mystery. For example, they would want to know what had happened to the book, what had happened to the young boy, and so on. Before we started to film our opening sequence, we created a survey which we uploaded to various social networking sites. We asked which horror subgenre they would be more likely to watch, and the majority of people who answered were ages between 14 to 18. Therefore, we decided that we will create an opening sequence that this group would be interested in. The highest rated subgenre was psychological horror, so we thought we use this genre to attract teenagers and make a movie suitable for their needs and requirements.
We have used Adobe Premiere Pro CS 5.5 to process our opening sequence. At first, we did not know how to use the software in order to edit our clips. This is because we have never used that type of software before. But after experimenting with the basic features of the program, we have learned how to cut clips and place them in correct places in order to make the clips merge together fluently. We have also learned how to use video and audio transitions to create tension. We have added in sound effects in certain places to indicate whether none is in each scene. We have also used consistent scary font in the opening titles in order to clarify the overall genre of the sequence. We have also increased and decreased audio gain and certain sound effects and soundtracks in order to merge the action on screen with the sound correctly. We have also brightened the opening scene in order to make the location look realistic, like a mental asylum. We have also used sudden sounds and scary shots in order to scare the audience and reinforce the genre. We also used a white filter and a white fade in the scene where the protagonist opens the door in order to make it look as if he teleported into another location and also reassemble the dream sequence. We also experimented extensively to get the perfect cut to show the demon nun appear in the background. We also sped up the nun's movement in order to give a surreal and disorientating feeling towards the audience. Throughout our preliminary task, I learned and gathered multiple skills, this being mostly camera skills and editing rather than anything else. These skills consist of using the camera shots according to the impact that I wanted to send across to the audience. This was created through the close-up that we used. This was to emphasize the tension that was occurring between the two characters. Furthermore, I also learned that the 180-degree rule can be changed in many ways in order for it not to be broken. We learned this in a result of breaking the rule multiple times, showing all 4 of the rooms. The editing was also a main factor that was improved throughout the progression of the prelim. One key factor that we learned to change was the skipping effect every time a new clip was brought in. With very little time, we learned how to make the clips fluent and smooth with the transaction, and this helped bring our level up as the finished product looked crisp in the editing department.